The film world is in mourning this week as we say a heartbreaking goodbye to a true titan of the industry. Rob Reiner and his beloved wife Michele, both found murdered in their own home. It's a heartbreaking and shocking tragedy, made even more grievous considering the season and the unfolding events. Rob was more than a filmmaker, he was an eclectic craftsman of our most cherished memories. Movies that sculpted our formative years and gave many great actors from all ages a chance to shine. He didn't have a visual signature like Spielberg or Tarantino, instead his signature was empathy. He was known as the ultimate actor's director, a man who would mouth the dialogue behind the camera along with his cast because he was so invested in their performance. From his early days as meathead on All in the Family to becoming one of the most successful directors in history, Rob's eclectic style was his superpower. He didn't just make movies, he defined genres. Whether it was the mockumentary, the modern rom-com or the ultimate coming-of-age drama, Rob did it all with a heart as big as his talent. Actors loved him, fans adored him, so today we honour his life by counting down his top 10 films, ranked by their cumulative scores from Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd and IMDB. So take a moment to give this video a like if you are reeling in the loss of this incredible director, and subscribe as we celebrate a man who truly went up to 11. Number 10, The Bucket List from 2007. This film paired two of the greatest actors ever to walk a set, Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman. It's a story about two terminally ill men who decide to live a lifetime in their final months. What's fascinating about Rob's direction here is that he gave the two icons total freedom. He famously encouraged them to improvise their hospital bed banter, wanting the friendship to feel organic rather than scripted. Rob had a deep, decades-long friendship with Nicholson, and that trust is why the film resonates so deeply with audiences, even if the critics were divided. It's a testament to Rob's belief that it's never too late for a new chapter. Number 9, we have Flipped, released in 2010. This was a massive passion project for Rob. It's a nostalgic 1950s he said, she said story about young love. Behind the scenes, Rob treated his young leads, Madeleine Carroll and Callan McAuliffe, with the exact same professional respect he gave to Oscar winners. He scouted locations that felt untouched by time because he wanted the film to feel like a memory. It captures that specific Reiner brand of sincere, earnest storytelling that many directors today are too cynical to attempt. Number 8. The Sure Thing from 1985. This was only Rob's second film, and it's the movie that truly launched John Cusack into the stratosphere. The plot follows a college freshman who is failing English and desperate for a win. When a friend calls from California promising a beautiful girl who is a sure thing, Gibbs sets off on a cross-country carpool. What makes this more than just a teen road trip movie is how Rob chose to direct it. He was heavily influenced by the 1934 classic It Happened One Night, and you can see that DNA in the bickering chemistry between the leads. While other directors in the mid-80s were focusing on raunchy gags, Rob was focused on the slow burn of a relationship. Behind the scenes, Rob was a mentor to the young cast, and John Cusack was only 18 at the time, and has often credited Rob with teaching him how to be a leading man without losing his edge. Rob pushed for a specific rhythm in the dialogue. He wanted the insults to fly fast, but the moments of vulnerability to linger. It remains one of the most smartest, most sophisticated romantic comedies of the decade, proving that even early in his career, Reiner was more interested in the heart than the punchline. At number 7 is A Few Good Men from 1992. This film is a masterclass in how Rob Reiner handled the big movie. Despite having a cast full of massive egos and A-list stars like Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, the set was famously one of the most professional and collaborative in Hollywood. Rob's secret was his background as an actor. He knew exactly how to talk to his cast to get their best work. The trivia surrounding Nicholson's true speech is legendary. Rob didn't just let Jack deliver that monologue, he orchestrated the entire courtroom atmosphere to be as high tension as possible. He kept the temperature on set slightly uncomfortable to keep the actors on edge. Even when Nicholson was off camera, Rob encouraged him to keep screaming his lines at 100% volume so Tom Cruise's reactions would be genuine. It was that dedication to the moment that made the film a Best Picture nominee. Rob showed the world that he could take a dense, wordy stage play and turn it into a cinematic powerhouse. At number 6, we have the gold standard of romantic comedies, When Harry Met Sally from 1989. On set, Rob's directing style was all about authenticity. He encouraged Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan to pull from their own lives, leading to that famous scene in Cat's Deli. This film is deeply personal to Rob's legacy. Originally, writer Nora Ephron wanted the movie to end with Harry and Sally going their separate ways. But while they were filming, Rob fell in love with Michele, the very woman he was tragically lost with this week. His newfound happiness changed his perspective on love, and he insisted on the happy ending that we all know and love today. Plus that famous "I'll have what she's having" line, that was spoken by Rob's own mother, Estelle Reiner. As we're heading into the top 5 now, drop a comment below and let me know if your favourite film has been featured here yet, and how his films shaped your informative years. Let's keep the conversation going. Number 5 is Misery. In 1990, Rob proved he could do horror just as well as heart. He took a Stephen King novel and turned it into a masterclass in tension. Up until 1990, he was known as the nice guy director who did comedies and coming-of-age stories, and nobody expected him to be able to handle the claustrophobic, brutal tension of a Stephen King thriller. But Rob saw it differently. He didn't view it as a horror movie, he viewed it as a character study about the terrifying nature of obsession. His directing style on set was all about psychological control. Behind the scenes, James Caan was an incredibly active, fidgety person, so Rob kept him confined to that bed for almost the entire shoot to build genuine, palpable frustration. And for the role of Annie Wilkes, Rob ignored Hollywood's demand for a big star and insisted on stage actress Kathy Bates. He cast Bates because he wanted someone the audience didn't have a preconceived idea about. He wanted a blank slate that could turn into a monster in a split second. Rob's relationship with Kathy was one of deep trust. He encouraged her to find the humanity in Annie Wilkes, believing that the character was scarier if she genuinely believed she was doing the right thing. She won the Oscar and her career was launched, proving once again that Rob Reiner had the best eye for talent in the business. And then there's the famous hobbling scene. The studio was terrified it was too much, but Rob stood his ground. He knew that for the audience to feel the stakes, they had to witness the brutality. It was a masterclass in pacing, showing that Rob could manipulate an audience's heartbeat just as easily as he could make them laugh. Number 4 is The American President. This 1995 film was the precursor to The West Wing, written by Aaron Sorkin. Rob directed it like a symphony, focusing on the cadence of the dialogue. He was a deeply political man in real life, co-founding First Five California and fighting for marriage equality, and you can see that idealism in every frame of this movie. He believed in a version of leadership that was dignified and moral, a theme he lived out until his final days. At number 3 is the movie that defines coming of age, Stand By Me from 1986. This is the film that many consider Rob's crowning achievement and his most personal work. When Rob first read King's novella, he realised the story wasn't really about a body, it was about the 4 boys who were all in some way broken by their adults in their lives. And he took that emotional core and ran with it, creating a movie that feels less like a script and more like a collective memory. Rob's directing style on set was revolutionary for the child actors. He didn't treat them like kids, he treated them like professional peers. And to build the genuine bond you see on screen, he had the 4 boys, Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman and Jerry O'Connell, spend 2 weeks living and playing together before a single camera rolled. He wanted their friendship to be rooted in real life chemistry, not just the lines on a page. He knew how to tap into their real emotions, especially with River Phoenix. Rob famously told River to draw on the times he had felt let down by the adults in his own life for that heartbreaking scene in the woods. To get the four young leads to look genuinely exhausted and emotional during the climax, Rob would actually stay distant and sometimes even tough with them on set to build real tension. But the moment the scene was over, he would pull them into a group hug and cry with them. Stephen King famously told Rob that it was the first time anyone had ever truly captured the soul of his writing. It's a film about the friends that you have when you're 12, and Rob directed it with the reverence of a religious experience. At number 2 from 1987 is our runner-up, The Princess Bride. This movie is inconceivably perfect. It's an adventure, a comedy and a satire all at once. A film that has become so woven into the fabric of pop culture that it's almost impossible to imagine a world without it. When Rob took on this project, he was adapting a book that had been labelled unfilmable for years. He succeeded where others failed because he understood the tone perfectly. It wasn't just a fairy tale and it wasn't just a comedy, it was a sincere love letter to storytelling itself. His directing style on the set was defined by pure, unadulterated joy. He wanted the set to feel like a playground. This was most evident in how he handled the legendary Andre the Giant. Rob knew that Andre was often treated as a spectacle in the wrestling world, so he made it his mission to treat him with immense dignity and warmth. Rob became a fierce protector of Andre, even helping him deal with the intense physical pain he was in during the shoot, and that family atmosphere led to the incredible chemistry you see between the main trio. Behind the scenes, Rob's biggest challenge was actually himself. He found the performances, especially those by Billy Crystal and Carol Kane, so hilarious that he could not keep a straight face. He famously had to leave the room and watch the monitor from a distance because his booming laughter kept ruining the audio takes. And it remains a perfect movie directed by a man who truly believed that true love and laughter could conquer anything. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have the 1984 masterpiece that changed the face of comedy forever. This is Spinal Tap. It wasn't just Rob's directorial debut, it was the birth of the mockumentary. Before this, the world didn't really have a word for a fake documentary that felt this uncomfortably real. Rob stepped behind the camera and in front of it to document the shambolic American tour of Britain's loudest and perhaps dimmest heavy metal band. Rob's directing style here was incredibly bold. There was no traditional script, only a 20-page outline. He relied entirely on the improvisational genius of Christopher Guest, Michael McKean and Harry Shearer. Behind the scenes, Rob acted as a sort of comedic conductor. He would let the actors riff for hours, often keeping the cameras rolling long after the actors thought the scene was over, just to capture those awkward, silent beats that make the movie so brilliant. He then spent an entire year in the editing room, meticulously sifting through miles of footage to find the story. The trivia behind the film's realism is legendary. Rob directed it with such a straight face that when it first premiered, many audience members, including real rock stars, didn't realise it was a parody. By playing the director himself, Rob invited us into the joke, creating a meta layer of comedy that influenced everything from The Office to Borat. It's a film that goes to 11 in every sense. Rob Reiner once said that his goal was to make movies that stood the test of time, and looking at this list, there is no doubt that he succeeded. From the rock stages of Spinal Tap to the cliffs of The Princess Bride, he gave us a map of the human heart. The tragic circumstances of his and Michele's passing this week leave us with a heavy heart, but his films will continue to bring light to generations to come.